Sara Bushland was a 15-year-old girl who mysteriously vanished from her own driveway in the small town of Spooner, Wisconsin on April 3rd, 1996. To preface this case, Sara's parents were divorced, and she lived with her father in Colorado up until she moved to Spooner in December of 1994 to live with her mother, stepfather, and two stepbrothers. As a teenager, Sara had apparently made friends with a group of individuals who were quite a bit older than her. Most of them were in their late teens to early 20s, and she eventually began dating a boyfriend who was 21 years old at the time that she disappeared. In the months leading up to Sara's disappearance, Sara used a personal diary to vent her private frustrations and feelings like most teenagers do, and a lot of these frustrations came from a growing tension between Sara and her parents. Again, very common in adolescence. Sara's stepfather, Jim, had apparently found her diary and was very angry with some of the things that she had written. Because of this, Sara's parents grounded her for weeks and would not allow her to see her friends or leave home except to go to school. Some conflicting information between sources also suggests that, along with being grounded, Sara's parents also told her that she was not allowed to continue seeing her boyfriend until she turned 16 later that year. Sara's grounding punishment came to an end shortly before she disappeared, and on April 3rd, 1996, she attended school as usual and was excited to finally be free to attend an after-school event with her friends later that evening. That morning, Sara's stepbrother drove her to a friend's house so that the two girls could walk to school together, since they had plans together that evening as well. Sara's parents were going to be out of town that night. Her mother, Marie, was attending a funeral in Chippewa Falls and was staying overnight at a family member's house, while Jim and his close friend from Canada were visiting a mutual friend in Stillwater, Minnesota. In the afternoon of April 3rd, Sara's boyfriend picked her up during her lunch period, and they left her school's campus. Upon dropping Sara back off at school when lunch was over, Sara's friends noticed that her demeanor had completely changed, and that she had completely changed all of her plans for the night. Despite seemingly very excited in the morning about hanging out with her friends and attending the school event together. Apparently, Sara no longer wanted to attend the school event that evening, and didn't want to go home with her friend after school, as she had planned. Instead, Sara seemed very panicked, and insisted that she needed to find a ride home as soon as possible. Sara had supposedly continued writing in her diary after being grounded, and said that she was worried about her stepfather finding the diary and reading her most recent entries, therefore ending up grounded again. Sara ended up calling multiple people trying to find a ride home early from school, and when she couldn't seem to find one, she decided she would have to take the school bus home. As she was getting off of the school bus around 4 p.m. that day, several children on the bus confirmed that they saw a dark-colored pickup truck pull into Sara's driveway, and that she seemed to approach the truck and talk to the unidentified driver, who she seemed to know. One of the witnesses claimed that she actually saw Sara getting into the truck as the bus was driving away. The truck backed out of Sara's driveway and started off in the direction of the nearby town of Trago. That was the last time that anyone saw Sara Bushland. Later that day, one of Sara's stepbrothers called Marie and Jim, worried because Sara hadn't come home. Marie left Chippewa Falls and made it back to Spooner that evening so that she could get out and look for Sara, along with one of Sara's friends. They visited Sara's boyfriend, who claimed that he hadn't seen or spoken to Sara since lunchtime that day. Marie made several phone calls that night, visited most of Sara's friends, and even drove to Trago to look for her daughter. Unfortunately, no one had seen or talked to Sara since she got off of that bus that afternoon. Jim also didn't come home that night. He returned the next afternoon on April 4th as he had planned. Immediately after Jim returned home, he and Marie went to the police to file a missing persons report for Sara. Sara's case was immediately dismissed as a runaway, and it would be 3 full years before the police would acknowledge Sara as an endangered missing person and began searching in 1999. Jim and Marie Lambert's property was the subject of 4 massive searches throughout the years. Beginning in 1999, these searches focused on mainly trash dump sites on the property as well as the house itself and surrounding buildings. The police never publicly released the reasons behind why they immediately zoned in on searching the family's properties. Authorities have also remained tight-lipped to this day about any suspicions or leads that they might have had behind why they keep revisiting the family's property. The police have not accounted for the times and whereabouts of one of Sara's stepbrothers that afternoon, though not much information can be found regarding this. It is also suggested that the police may not have believed that Sara even got into a pickup truck or left the property at all that day, due to cadaver dogs reacting several areas around the property during a search in May 2013. There's also a lot of speculation that a young woman named Crystal Solier may possibly be connected to Sara's disappearance, though the evidence for this is a bit sparse. Crystal was 18 when she disappeared from Cable, Wisconsin in October of 1996. 5 months later, her body was found in Rock County, Wisconsin, but the remains were not identified as Crystal's until 2002. Crystal's murder remains unsolved to this day. Lots of people initially drew connections to Crystal and Sara Bushland because they looked very similar and that they were both blonde young women, the same age group. Crystal and Sara actually knew each other, and they also had at least 19 mutual friends, all of them young men in their 20s. Both Crystal and Sara also attended different parties held by the same groups of men. Although Sara's school friends were allegedly unaware of these connections, none of these men have been named as suspects in Sara's disappearance or in Crystal's unsolved murder. What happened to Sara Bushland? Thanks for watching, and thanks to the patrons of this channel for supporting it. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll talk to you guys again as always. Adios, amigos.